Is Ombre Nomade the best release from Louis Vuitton? Let's review it and find out. Hey, what's going on? Hunter here and welcome back to my channel. And if you are new, what I do is make fragrance related content. So if you love fragrances, hit the subscribe button down below and also be sure to follow my Instagram page. But that's right, today we're reviewing one of the most popular hyped up fragrances from Louis Vuitton, and that is Ombre Nomade, of course. Now, this is a fragrance that has been on my wish list for a very long time, even before I started getting heavy into the Louis Vuitton fragrances. And this was the only Louis Vuitton that I actually blind bought because unfortunately my local boutique does not carry the Middle Eastern collection. So I ordered this one online and we'll talk about if this was actually a worthy blind buy and if it lived up to the hype. Before we go ahead and do that, let's go over some information about Ombre Nomade. So this fragrance was launched in 2018. It was actually the first fragrance that was part of the Middle Eastern collection. Now they actually have 4 in this line, which of course includes Ombre Nomade, Nuit de Faux, which will probably be my next purchase from Louis Vuitton. Also includes Les Sable Roses and the newest one, Fleur de Desert. Now, as far as the retail prices go for the Middle Eastern collection, they are a little bit more expensive than the regular line of Louis Vuittons, which usually goes for $300 for 100 ml. These ones are $385. But the great thing about Louis Vuitton is once you go through your bottle, you could take it back to the boutique and they'll refill your bottle for over $100 off, which I absolutely love that they do that and have that as an option. I wish more brands would utilize that. Concentration is an eau de parfum, just like the regular lineup as well. I know you probably would expect these to be extraits, especially since they're like in the darker, blacker bottles, but they actually do have an extrait lineup, which are like $500 or some dollars for 100 ml, which I haven't got my nose on any of those. The perfumer, of course, is the one and only master perfumer, Jack Cavalier, who's become my favorite perfumer as of lately. He's created every single fragrance from Louis Vuitton and has also created fragrances for like Tom Ford. One that comes to mind is Tuscan Leather, which was my first high-end purchase maybe around 5 or 6 years ago. And I wanted to mention Tuscan Leather because in that fragrance it has a dominant raspberry note just like Ombre Nomade has, and of course it was created by the same nose. So with all that information out of the way, let's go look at the packaging and presentation you get with Ombre Nomade now. So take a look at this box. It's pretty much like all of the Louis Vuitton boxes for the most part, just like a white recycled paper box, which isn't the highest of quality. Of course, you have the LV logo right there. Eau de parfum, this is the 100 ml. On the back is where you'll find all your information and ingredients. And on the bottom, you have your batch code and barcode to authenticate your product and see when it was produced. I wish this did come in like a black box, but unfortunately it does not. So you open it up like so. And of course, inside that box, you do have your traditional Louis Vuitton cylinder, kind of where your fragrance is housed. The only thing different with the Middle Eastern collection is it has a black top rather than like a gunmetal or gold or white. And then you just lift up like so and your fragrance is housed in there. Not the best presentation, but it gets the job done and it's very simplistic. On the other hand though, these bottles are some of my favorite bottles, especially in this black kind of glass colorway they got going on with the gold. It looks absolutely stunning. Of course, you have Ombre Nomade right there in gold. Louis Vuitton embossed in the glass. On top, you have that gold LV. On the bottom is etched in all your information and your badge code as well. And these caps are pretty heavy and they do actually hold on via a magnet, which is always nice so you can't pick it up by the cap with some confidence. So yeah, this is the beautiful Louis Vuitton bottles. For the notes, you have oud, benzoin, incense, and raspberry, and this fragrance will be classified as a woody smoky. Now I know looking at that note breakdown, it is very simplistic. I got that straight from Louis Vuitton rather than like Fragrantica, which do list quite a few more notes, but let's spray this and test out the atomizer really quick. Very nice distribution. It does actually spray a lot of juice, which is always nice. So right away, what I'm hit with once I spray Ombre Nomade on this test strip is this very jammy, fruity raspberry note. And people get confused with this fragrance. A lot of people say they pick up rose. It's a rose oud combo fragrance. But to my nose, guys, I don't really get any rose at all. And if I do detect some kind of floral rose in here, I believe that's coming from that raspberry note, which sometimes can resemble the smell of rose. So I think that's where some people are getting confused. This is by no means your traditional rose oud combination fragrance at all. To me, it's more of a fruity oud. Jack Cavalier knows his way around a good fruity raspberry note when it comes to perfumery because he created the icon from Tom Ford, Tuscan leather, back in like 2007. So you are getting that really iconic fruity raspberry in Ombre Nomade. Now, of course, this is a completely different fragrance than Tom Ford's Tuscan leather, even though it does share some slight similarities between each other, and they are both very dark creations. If you're pretty much sick of those rose oud combos, which has been so popular lately, and there's so many fragrances with that combination, this is one you will want to check out because it goes a very different route. So once Ombre Nomade starts to dry down a little bit and we make our way into the mid of this composition, is where I get this very smoky, resinous, church-like vibe incense note that is just absolutely of the highest quality of ingredients, guys. This fragrance comes across very, very natural smelling. Nothing really synthetic or sharp or piercing about this fragrance at all, especially from that raspberry. It's really authentic raspberry note. And that incense or fragrance sense comes across as very, very natural. Like somebody at like church burning incense is the exact vibe I get with this. Now, just because I do get a lot of incense in the mid of this isn't necessarily like an incense bomb targeted fragrance. Louis Vuitton does make one of those though, which is a Nuit de Faux, which I haven't smelled, but I heard it's a very bold, dark incense-based fragrance, and probably the most bold from the entire collection. But if you love incense like I do myself, which is probably in my top 3 favorite notes of all time, you will really enjoy this one. It's, like I said, one of the highest quality incense notes I've smelled in any fragrance I've ever got my nose on. Even surpassing like Interlude Man, which is an absolute incense dominant fragrance and one of my favorite fragrances as well. But the incense in here, guys, is out of this world. Once we finally make our way into the base of Ombre Nomade is where this fragrance was created for, is with that oud note. Now, Louis Vuitton does claim to use natural oud in this fragrance, and to my nose, it does come across very natural smelling. I have smelled tons of synthetic ouds, and this is not it at all. The only slight downside to me, guys, when I bought this fragrance and heard many people talk about it, how bold it was, how barnyardy animalic it was, it just isn't the case, guys. This is a very, very smooth oud, smoky, resinous fragrance. This isn't as barnyardy as I was expecting. If you follow my channel, you know me, I do actually really like my barnyardy animalic fragrances. So I was a little bit disappointed when I first got this one, but at the end of the day, guys, this fragrance is a complete masterpiece. I was just expecting it to be a little bit dirtier than what it actually is. I don't think this fragrance has been reformulated since the original launch back in 2018, at least that I know of, so it should be the same exact formula as the OG. To my surprise, another fragrance from Louis Vuitton that's actually in the original line at $300 is more animalic and barnyardy than Ombre Nomade, and that is Nouveau Monde, which was one of my first from the house because I'm an oud lover, and that one absolutely piqued my interest. But in that one though, you get this very barnyardy oud that works along this animalic leather note with some cacao. So yeah, it has a similar DNA, but that one's actually even more animalic, which is just surprising because looking at this bottle and the price tag, you expected this one to be more bold, but it's not. This one is much more smooth and well-rounded compared to Nouveau Monde, which does have some rough edges to it. Of course, you're left with that oud note for the majority of the fragrance until it just completely dies off the skin, which is gonna take you a very long time to get to that point, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, alongside that oud, it turns even more resinous from this benzoin note. Now, benzoin does come across very sweet. It's probably one of the most sweet resin notes, but it also resembles vanilla. So you are gonna get that vanilla-ish vibe in the dry down along with that very smooth natural oud. So pretty much to break down this composition, in the top you're getting that very fruity, jammy raspberry note that slightly resembles rose, where people get that confused. It dries down and turns very smoky from that incense that does give it this churchy vibe. And in the base you're gonna get that very smooth, exotic oud along with that very sweet, vanilla-ish benzoin note in the base. Just all in all, a very sophisticated DNA when it comes to Ombre Nomade, and that's why I consider this to be an absolute masterpiece. Let's touch on seasons and occasions to best wear this. Obviously, this is going to be targeted for the fall and winter. You still could possibly pull this one off in like spring evenings, but definitely not the summertime, guys. You'll choke yourself out, you'll choke everyone around you out, and this is the sort of fragrance that will become very cloying on skin in the high heat. So just stick to the colder months and this thing will work the absolute best. Now for occasions, this is without a doubt a very classy, upscale, formal attire sort of fragrance. This is the kind of fragrance that if you're a boss, you want to dress up, you want the right fragrance for that occasion, being like somewhere formal, in like a suit, a tie, dress shirt, something like that. Ombre Nomade will do the job for you. There's nothing casual about this at all. This is the CEO of a company kind of fragrance to me, guys. This is just a very powerful fragrance that commands dominance if you're wearing this one and you walk into a room. Now to touch on gender and age groups for Ombre Nomade. Now, of course, the Middle Eastern collection is targeted as unisex, just like the cologne collection. And then Louis Vuitton also has a female line and a male's line. Ombre Nomade, to my nose, does lean very masculine. There's nothing really feminine about this fragrance at all. Like I said, it doesn't have any florals. It's very smoky, slightly fruity, and very warm resinous in the base. That doesn't mean if you're a woman watching this video right now and you want to try this fragrance, you absolutely can. At the end of the day, you can wear whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. But to my nose, when I spray this, it definitely does lean on the masculine side. I could probably see like less sable roses leaning slightly feminine with that heavy rose, but this one definitely for the men. For age groups though, this one is of course very mature. There's nothing youthful, nothing playful, nothing really casual or anything like that about Ombre Nomade. Like I said earlier, this is like the CEO of a company kind of vibe, very mature. Probably even like 30s and up is the absolute best for this one. I'm in my 20s, but when I just picture, this will absolutely work the best for like an older 30s and up person. When I smell this one, it does resemble like an older gentleman that is higher up in status of the company. Like I said, CEO, somebody that is very, very wealthy is exactly what I get. This is not your teenage fragrance. This is nothing like that at all, guys. It just smells like somebody that's a millionaire. It gives off that very high-end, exotic, luxurious vibe about it. Now, of course, wrapping things off on the performance. So, with Ombre Nomade, guys, right off the bat, this stuff is beast mode nuclear. Definitely above average and the best performer from the entire Louis Vuitton lineup that I've tried so far. So, if beast mode is what you're looking for, you absolutely want to check out Ombre Nomade. On my skin, when it comes to longevity, I got 12 plus hours, guys, into the next day if you don't shower. And even when you do shower, you have to scrub your skin like twice with body wash to get this stuff completely off. And if you're brave enough to spray your clothes with Ombre Nomade, it's gonna take at least 2 washes in the laundry to get the scent out of your clothes. It's that strong and that powerful. And same goes with the projection and sillage. This stuff projects off the skin very heavy for around 4 to 5 hours strong, guys. So how I pretty much describe projection, if you're just standing still, right, you're not moving around, the fragrance is projecting off your skin, like at what distance it's projecting. This one's easily an arm's length without any problems. Now, sillage, how I explain it, is when you're walking by somebody or somebody's walking behind you as you're walking forward, is a scent trail that it leaves off your skin that moves within the wind. And trust me, if you're walking in front of people, it could be a lineup of people, say 10 people behind you, and the 10th person will smell Ombre Nomade. That's how strong and beast mode this stuff is. It's an absolute nuclear fragrance. I don't think anybody that has either tried Ombre Nomade, owned Ombre Nomade, or has worn Ombre Nomade can deny that fact. Jack Cavalier was not messing around when he created Ombre Nomade, guys. He's like, you guys want some nuclear fragrances? Well, here you go. But that's going to do it for the review of the masterpiece Ombre Nomade. Let me know down below if you had the pleasure of getting your nose on this beautiful creation. And what is your favorite Louis Vuitton that you guys have tried? I'm very curious. I know I've been hyping this house up and I've been obsessed with these fragrances lately. But besides that, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you guys haven't already. And I'll see all of you back here in my next video. Take care, everybody.